Imagine the smartphone you're using, the television in your home, your laptop, your shoes, your toys, and countless everyday products may all have one thing in common: China. But here's the real question. How did a country that was once one of the poorest in the world become one of the largest manufacturing centers on Earth in just a few decades? How did "Made in China" go from being a simple label to becoming one of the most powerful symbols in the global economy? The answer is not simply cheap labor. Behind China's rise was a massive economic transformation: hard work, foreign investment, extraordinary infrastructure, a vast supply chain, and a long-term strategy. To understand how China became the world's factory, we have to go back to where the story really began. 1949. China had just undergone a communist revolution, and the People's Republic of China was established under Mao Zedong. But China at that time was nothing like the China we know today. The country was poor, its economy was weak, industrial production was limited, and millions of people lived in poverty. The government tried to rapidly industrialize the country, but several economic policies, especially the Great Leap Forward, created a devastating economic and humanitarian crisis. Over time, China's leaders began to realize something important. Political control alone could not create a powerful economy. China needed a different path, and the most important chapter of that transformation began in 1978. A new leader emerged, Deng Xiaoping. He introduced a powerful idea. China's economic system would focus more on practical results. Economic reforms began. Market-oriented policies were introduced in agriculture. Private enterprise received more opportunities. And gradually, China began opening its doors to foreign investment. But then, something even more important happened. China did not try to transform the entire country at once. Instead, it created special economic zones where new economic policies could be tested. One of the most famous was Shenzhen, once a relatively small border town. Shenzhen transformed within a few decades into one of the world's most important industrial and technology centers. Factories arrived, foreign companies arrived, investment arrived, and China's enormous workforce became one of the country's greatest economic advantages. But cheap labor alone cannot turn a country into the world's factory. China understood that. It needed something much bigger: infrastructure. So China began building thousands of kilometers of roads, railways, ports, power plants, industrial zones, and massive logistics networks. Chinese ports became connected to markets across the world. A product could be manufactured in a factory, transported by truck, sent to a port, loaded onto a ship, and within weeks, reach a market on the other side of the planet. This enormous network became one of China's biggest competitive advantages. Then came another historic moment. 2001. China joined the World Trade Organization, the WTO, and this changed everything. China became even more deeply connected to global trade. Foreign companies began moving more of their production to China. Why? Because China offered a huge workforce, rapidly improving infrastructure, large-scale manufacturing, and access to an enormous domestic market. Technology companies, clothing manufacturers, electronics companies, automakers, and thousands of other businesses became connected to China's manufacturing system. But China's greatest advantage was its ability to do things at enormous scale. Imagine, a company needs several components to manufacture a single product. In China, there may be another factory producing those components, and that factory may have dozens of suppliers nearby, providing the materials and machinery it needs. In other words, an entire manufacturing ecosystem. A product does not have to travel across several countries between every stage of production. Much of the process can happen within the same region. That reduces costs, transportation time, and production delays, and it dramatically increases the speed of manufacturing. This is one of the biggest secrets behind China's rise as the factory of the world. But China's rise was never just about cheap products. Over time, China began investing heavily in technology. In the beginning, many companies mainly manufactured products designed by companies from other countries. But gradually, Chinese companies began creating their own brands, their own technologies, and their own products: smartphones, electric vehicles, batteries, solar panels, robotics, and advanced technologies received massive investment. China was no longer simply making products for the world. It was increasingly building its own technology for the world. And this is where China's story becomes even bigger. Today, China does not simply manufacture products for the rest of the world. China is also one of the world's largest consumer markets. On one side, you have an enormous manufacturing base. On the other, you have more than 1 billion potential consumers. These two forces have helped make China's economy even more powerful. But China's rise has also created new challenges: an aging population, trade tensions, technological competition with the United States, supply chain risks, and changes in global trade are all shaping China's future. Many companies are now looking for alternative manufacturing locations, but China's massive industrial base, its network of suppliers, its ports, its infrastructure, its skilled workforce, and its enormous domestic market cannot simply be recreated somewhere else overnight. So, how did China become the world's factory? The answer is not one single factor. It was the combination of the economic reforms of 1978, foreign investment, a massive workforce, low cost and high speed production, infrastructure development, access to global trade, China's entry into the WTO, an enormous supply chain ecosystem, and long-term industrial and technological planning. At one point, the world saw "Made in China" on almost everything. But now, the question has become much bigger. Will China remain the world's factory, or will it evolve from the world's factory into a technological power, an economic superpower, and eventually a complete global superpower? Because China's story is not simply the story of one country's economic transformation. It is the story of a country that, within a few decades, changed the world's manufacturing system and helped reshape the balance of the global economy. And that is why understanding China's rise is not just about understanding China. It may also be a way to understand what the world of tomorrow could look like. This was the story of how China became the world's factory.